Very important. You're gonna love it. So we'll be right back.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Hi, I'm Carl Wells, getting ready to record another edition of Carl Wells Point to Point. It's a program where I chat with members of our community and they talk candidly about their lives and careers, from their earliest dreams to their greatest triumphs. I think you'll find it informative and entertaining. Please join us for Carl Wells Point to Point, right here on Rogers TV.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Okay, so this is a conversation I'm super fascinated in because I think it's really powerful and I think it's kind of stupidly ridiculous that people consider it controversial. That's a good way to start, I think. So Danielle Douglas, president of the Mon Student Parents Association, but it's actually called
the Student Parents Resource and Assistance Center, SPARC. We go by Mon Student Parents.
And what we're here to talk about today is $25 a day childcare.
Right.
Which was fought for a very long time. Correct?
Right. Well, what I would actually say is that that would be inclusive in a much larger provincial plan.
I get it.
We do have an existing operating grant program to subsidize childcare in the province. So with this new implementation of $25 a day childcare, this is going to bring new families into that program and allow them to better afford and access early learning opportunities for their children.
Okay, so just to have it said preemptively, I think this is amazing, and it benefits our province in so many ways.
Yes.
Having that said, there are a lot of people who have objections that they feel are warranted.
Right.
I feel like most of that just comes from maybe not a really good job of distributing the motivation for this and what the spin-off of it is. So what I'd like to do is, if you would tell me what the program does and what it's meant to do, and then maybe I'll ask questions as though I'm poking holes in it.
Fair.
Right? And then you, being right and knowing your way around this, can gracefully explain to our audience why I'm being silly by having these objections.
Certainly.
So this is what I would like to do.
I'll try my best there. So we know from jurisdictional analysis, from evidence-based research, that there are significant economic benefits to investment in early childhood education. What we have seen in the Quebec study is that it increased participation in the workforce. So it increased what's called the participation rate, and then that translates into a generation of taxable income revenue. So for people without children, or perhaps their children are grown, and they're thinking, well, how do I benefit from this? How are my tax dollars benefiting me from this program? There are significant economic benefits that will benefit the province as a whole. That said, when we're talking about early childhood education, when we're talking about a policy that touches the intimate life of an infant, of a baby, of a toddler, of a school-aged child, then we're moving away from the fact that the child really needs to be the principal beneficiary of the program. We need to ensure that this program is reflective of the rights of the child and perhaps the principles under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the responsibilities that Canada holds under that convention as a party member.
So I mean, there's a whole lot more to this than just like sending your kid away for cheap.
No,
right?
this is not an exercise of warehousing children so that we can navigate an unprecedented economic situation. We absolutely cannot do that. The fact that there are economic benefits to this is absolutely fantastic, and I think that it is excellent strategic economic direction, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that the child needs to be the principal beneficiary of this program. program.
So when you say the child needs to be the principal beneficiary, does that mean, are you meaning to say that more than anybody else, the children should, what they gain from more affordable access to childcare is more important than anything else? So it's more important than saving me $30 a day. It's more important than the tax revenue spin-off in the next 10 years because mom or dad is back to work.
Yes.
What's more important is that a kid has somewhere to go that's safe, that they're fed, or they're loved, they're supported, it's inclusive. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and I think that the Premier would be better to explain this himself in terms of brain development and early childhood education from a medical perspective. The majority of the brain grows under the age of 5, more so than any other developmental period in human life. So when we're talking about something that is touching the psychological, the mental, the emotional, regulatory development of a child, absolutely they must be benefiting over any type of economic initiative.
So I guess in order for that to be the case, anyone who wants to take advantage of this subsidized childcare programs, they would have to go to certain spaces that have been audited and registered and approved, and you can't just send them to like Nan, and I'm sure Nan is lovely, but for that kind of a deal, right?
A regulated family care is included under the program. So if Nan has a regulated family care center,
at-home daycare sort of thing,
that is certainly accessible to the family.
Nan, it's because she's regulated as a day home.
Yes, it is regulated, and that's actually included as one of the 3 principles in the Child Care Services Subsidy Program. So that would be the front-facing public program that parents and families would access. That's what they would actually be applying to.
So when people are Googling to learn about this, that's what they're saying.
They would Google the Child Care Services Subsidy Program. Okay. It's available through the Department of Education, and the application is on their website, as well as some additional resources and information and the subsidy manual.
Okay, so like I said, I am a proponent of this. I think that it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
I really, really do.
Yes.
And if you don't, and you're watching this, I encourage you to tweet at me, and I will fight you about it. I definitely will. So, but now I want to sort of toss at you some of the objections that people are saying.
Right.
Right? Well, my tax dollars are paying for this, and I don't have kids. That's unfair.
Right. Our tax dollars contribute to many, many things. Healthcare would be a prime example. You may have access to a life-saving surgery that I don't benefit from, but
maybe I don't drive, but it still paves the roads.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, I think it's really silly when we start getting competitive over these resources when ultimately we're talking about our entire future. When we're talking about the economy, it doesn't make any sense to me not to center the child in that discussion. We're talking about something that our children are going to be inheriting in 10, 20, 15, 20 years.
So is it the short-term, quick fix mindset for an economic problem that people are like, no, we can't spend money on that now because we don't have any money? But is that the issue? They're caught up in the now. All they can see, they're all headline reading, and they're like, no, we're just spending more money. Here goes the liberals spending more money. Is that where they're stuck, not realizing this is a long-term decision?
I think they are thinking in the short term. I don't think that they are thinking in the long term. And I think what the Premier has actually said is that this is a first step. And when I heard that, I said, this is key language. This is the most important language, the most important comment that I have heard to date, because I was primarily concerned that $25 a day childcare would be the plan, and that needs to be under a more holistic plan to address all of these barriers that children and families face in accessing early learning opportunities.
So what would you say to people who are saying, well, why is this not retroactive? Like, I've been paying $60 a day or tens of thousands over the lifetime of my child, and now the government is doing this. That's not fair. Like, I never took benefit of this, and now my tax dollars are paying to help somebody else. Like, do they just need to like pardon the language? Do they just gotta shut up? Like, it's not about you as well? Like, it's not about you, Rick.
I think I am, the vision that I hold is that our children are at the center of life. It doesn't make any sense to me to be talking about the future of Newfoundland and Labrador in this precarious position economically, politically, global shifts that are going on. It doesn't make any sense to be having these discussions without firstly talking about, well, what is the world that our children are going to be inheriting, and ensuring that we have those policy mechanisms, those regulatory processes and legislative protections in place for our children to inherit that world.
And we have, I mean, it's no secret, we've been talking about it for a long time, we do have a less than exciting economic situation right now.
Yes.
And we have a very quickly aging population.
Yes, the highest in the country.
It's bad.
Yes.
And all of those people still contribute to our government's revenue through taxes, but we're getting old and we're not making very many new people, at least not enough. So creating this, to me, in my mind, with a couple of other things, this is almost like a stimulus package to go have kids and go back to work. It'll be all right. Like, we can start to grow our province again.
Yes, absolutely. There is a point in this discussion where we need to look at the social determinants of health of children and the province, and that would be those external forces which would impact inequities in health. Newfoundland and Labrador has the highest rate of food insecurity in the country. Of food bank users, over 36% of food bank users are children. Now, when you look at the percentage of the children, yes, so when you look at the percentage of children that represent the population of the province as a whole, it's only 20%. So we know that there is an overrepresentation of children in
those
food banks.
Those ratios are way out of whack.
Right. So what this is telling us is that this is an indicator of health of children. This is an indicator of social determinants of health of our children, and we need to be looking at these intervention mechanisms. So something that I hope that the Premier brings, the value that he brings to this policy, is actually his experience, his speciality in working in medicine, and bringing that in from a social health policy perspective and identifying what these inequities in health are for our children.
And these are all of the benefits that don't even take into account that the people who weren't having children before because they couldn't afford to now can.
Right.
And the people who weren't going back to work because they couldn't afford to now can.
Right.
And we're bringing more revenue into our province, and we haven't even touched on that.
Right, exactly. So, our fertility rate is the lowest in the country, and I would, as a parent, I would say that affordability has a lot to do with that. A lot of friends my age either put off having children for quite some time because they felt that financially they wouldn't be able to do it. So this is a game changer for the province in many, many avenues, and it certainly will help us overcome.
And it's step one.
And it's step one. I think that's key.
That's
that is key language. And yes, I'm very excited about that as well.
Danielle, thank you very much for coming out and having this conversation. I feel like you and I could talk about this for a whole lot longer. And maybe we will later when there's more steps.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this break. Go make babies, but wait till after the show is over. We'll be right back.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
I joined because I wanted to help others.
To be a part of something bigger.
To show my kids what's important.
I joined to make my community stronger.
To make a difference in someone's life.
To acknowledge that our freedoms come at a cost.
I joined to honor my mom.
My grandpa.
My neighbor.
Everyone who served.
Who are serving still.
I joined.
I joined.
I joined the Legion.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Let me introduce you to somebody for whom I have a great deal of respect. This is Jenn Brown, the Executive Director of the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. I said it all straight, no stumbling and no mistakes. The St. John's International Women's Film Festival has been going on for a little bit.
Little bit,
right?
Yeah.
How many years deep?
31.
31, okay.
31.
So to give people a little bit of a context for what it's about, I got a little trailer that I want them to watch, and then afterwards we can chat for a bit about how cool it is.
All about
Amazing? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this, and we'll be right back in a sec. So how cool was that? So that's like a montage of everything that had been screening in this year's festival, right?
Yes. Yep.
And just tell me a little bit about the music, because I can't get it out of my head.
I know. It's the best way to have, with the festival, we watch these trailers over and over again, so we always try to engage a local musician. Yeah. So that's Weary, Kate Leahy, so we were really happy to license her song, because if you're going to have this brainworm, might as well have a really wicked song to do so.
Exactly, as opposed to just being like, I wish I had Jesse's girl. And that's in your head forever. Or 8, 6, 7, 5. Okay, so back to the festival itself. So in your capacity as executive director, when you look at the whole encompassing the whole thing of any film festival, specifically the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, what do you look at as the mandate for it as an event or as an organization?
Certainly. Well, I mean, we are really here to promote, showcase, and develop women filmmakers, and really women's work in general. So we've been around for 3 decades. We're one of the longest running women's film festivals in the world, which I think...
In the world?
In the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go Canada.
Go Canada. Well, that's something too, the fact that one of the longest running in the world is here. It's not from a huge city or a big center. I think says so much about our arts community and just our province in general, which, unfortunately, and fortunately, we went virtually this year. Unfortunately, we couldn't welcome everyone in because we have so many delegates and guests, ambassadors really, from all over the world who join us. And it's such a point of pride to be able to show off the great talent here. But at the same time, if we really want to develop new audiences and develop a whole culture of film lovers and storytellers, the virtual format certainly did open up so much more access.
It increases your reach.
Totally. Well, first of all, we were excited. Finally, people beyond St. John's can participate. Newfoundland Labrador is so huge. We were really excited about that. And then we took another step. A lot of other film festivals were geo-blocking, so restricting who could watch to their province.
So why would what's the why?
Yeah. So that's part of the whole protection of the artist's work as well. So, a whole film festival circuit exists so that it's a new film, you're putting it out there, you want people to watch it, you want sales agents or distributors, and then hopefully you can pitch your film.
So you don't want too many people to see it, because if you ever got to a point where you were selling it, people would be like, well, I already saw that.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
and
with
so
you.
for us, we're later in the festival year. So we just asked everyone, hey, do you mind if we screen it across all of Canada instead of just our province?
Yeah.
And everyone said yes.
Yeah, because I think that if, like, if you were somebody who would attend a film festival, I don't think you're necessarily the same person who would pay to see a film just because you were interested in the topic. You know what I mean? So, like, if you take everybody who goes to film festivals, this is clearly an assumption, and I could be way, way, way off base, but I'm not entirely sure that's the same group of people who are binging Netflix.
Yeah.
It's different audiences, maybe?
I think it's certainly a combination, and that's something that we've really leaned into this year. As a film festival, one of our threats has always been, how do we get people to get off their couch, turn off their TV, come downtown, like go see a screening, and we're embracing that. So it's like, stay home, stay on your couch, like coziest dress code ever.
It's not required.
Exactly, but watch our films. So I think we're going to really see new people who maybe are like, oh, well, maybe I'll just turn off Netflix and watch some local films especially and discover new favorites. And then also, you know, patrons who we've had for 30 plus years and people who just love the excitement of being, it's your first opportunity. You're not going to be able to see any of these films anywhere else. So I think that it's really interesting to be able to hopefully attract new people and, of course, like loyal filmmakers.
I have a hard time not having a pretty significant case of adult ADHD. So like I'm always having ideas and I'm very entrepreneurial. So I just had an idea where there should be like a film festival database where people can stream from and just pay a subscription for like the film festival, only that stuff.
Yeah.
Because that independent, maybe from a small town, or maybe like a story that's straight out of somebody's heart that they've been working on for a decade. There's so much power in that,
There is.
that without just like Michael Bay's explosions and stuff.
Totally.
No problem. I love Transformers, Michael. I'm not making fun. I'm just saying it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, and it's different here too because unlike big centers, we don't have the independent cinemas. You know, like our festival is one of the only opportunities to see independent Canadian work in particular and local work. I mean, we open with Little Orphans, which was directed by Ruth Lawrence, written by Emily Bridger, you know, their debut feature.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's launched during a year where there's no film festival. Like
Which
they can't
is kind
go,
of a shame,
you know, and do that whole circuit. So the fact that we could share that, but then also for short films, you know, beyond the festival circuit, it's really hard to provide opportunities to watch that. And that's really great to also look at emerging talent and how to, you know, discover someone who's going to be, you know, the next big Canadian icon, right?
So can we talk about just the film industry in Newfoundland for a little bit? Because we're one of the safest places in the world right now.
We are.
And I mean, I know Rex just sort of wrapped. They're on hiatus now, but the Surreal Tour is filming all out. It's like people are coming here to do stuff here because it's a good place to do stuff. Is what it feels like to me, looking at it from the outside.
Yep, certainly. Well, I know Hudson and Rex was the first show to go to production in North America.
Is that something?
That is something.
Like, you mean after, like, pandemic-wise?
Pandemic-wise. And that is certainly because of the local production. Paul Pope, the producer on that show, built a very, very robust plan and set of guidelines and worked with the government so closely to get approval for that. And by them investing that time, you know, another show, Surreal Tour, was able to come in afterwards.
The trail has been blazed.
Well, it
so
has
now
been.
other people can do it. Yeah.
Totally. And then also, I mean, that opened up opportunities for colleagues across all of the country to be able to consider it. But, you know, people have been always wanting to film here. The industry here is huge. It's massive. It has such a huge economic impact and culturally, you know, and also Newfoundland Labradors, we're known as there's magic, right? Like we get so many people who come to the Women's Film Festival every year and they're like, what's in the water? Like, I need to come here.
Salt.
Yes, a lot of salt.
Salt and, you know, Jig's dinner.
Yeah, right?
Jenn, thank you very much for coming out and having this chat.
Thank you so much.
I just have so much appreciation for the arts community and like how that spins off into so many other things that people don't even realize. So I always love having conversations like this, and let's do it more. And if anybody that you hear of that has done anything with the festival is releasing somewhere else, let us know here, and I'll make sure that all these beautiful people know.
Thank you.
Cool?
Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and we'll be right back after this.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. These conversations were both really important to me personally, and I hope to you also. And I want to talk a little bit about this $25 a day childcare benefit. But before I do that, can we just take a second to appreciate our local International Film Festival? Their URL, so their website, is womensfilmfestival.com. Of all of the places around the world that do women's film festivals, they are so old and have so much pedigree that they own that URL. That's a big deal. Now, let's talk about this $25 a day thing. If you're one of the people who have been frustrated or turned off by this, or think it's the government spending more money that we can't afford, or it's not fair because you don't have kids but your tax dollars still pay for this, just think about this for a second. We're quickly aging and we're quickly dying and nobody's making new babies. We should be paying people to make babies so that we can solve our problems in the long run. Think about it, read about it, do the research. It's important. And you know what else? See you Tuesday.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Sports fans know Sundays are for football. That's why you need NFL Sunday tickets. With NFL Sunday Ticket, you'll get every live game every Sunday all season